Hello, we met again. It is nice to meet you again. Now is Chapter 4, Sampling. I will speed up the lecture a little faster. This time sampling. The limit of statistical surveys is an estimate that cannot be made for a population. Because of this, only studies that are accurate and true to the sample will be accepted meaningfully. So sampling is a very important part. A sample is an object that estimates a population by selecting some of the populations and examining them and estimating what the population will be like. Because of this, the sample is divided into a sample that can represent the population and a sample that does not, depending on how the sample is collected. This is the most basic item to judge whether the research you are doing is convincing. For example, suppose you are conducting a survey of university students. If the researcher examines only the first-year student at his convenience, can the result of this survey be a good study of university students' thinking? Of course, the first-year students selected as the sample are university students. But it is hard to say that their thoughts represent the whole student's thoughts. Therefore, this is erroneous sampling, and the results of the study are unreliable. Now let's look at the sampling method in earnest. The sampling method is classified into probability sampling methods and non-probability sampling method. The probabilistic, non-probabilistic classification criterion is the probability of being included as a sample. If the probability of belonging to a sample is the same, it is a probability sample. Otherwise, it is a non-probability sample. Now, let me first explain the 5 probability sampling. First, it is a simple random sampling. Select randomly n samples from the population. When selecting a sample, it is a method of randomly selecting without any given criteria. The second is systematic sampling. Before sampling, create a list of all the members of the population and select the kth element from the population list as a sample. The third is stratified sampling. If the population is composed of several heterogeneous groups, it is a method to select the sample according to the ratio of each group. For example, there are schools with 10,000 students. Here I am trying to make a sample of 1,000 people. By the way, the ratio of first, second, third, and fourth grade is 4:3, 2:1. In such a case, a sample is composed of 400 persons, 300 persons, 200 persons, and 100 persons. The fourth is multi-stage sampling. After the upper sample unit is set, a sample is extracted by setting the lower sample unit for it. For example, a university constructs a sample, divides it into colleges, and then divides the collections by department. The fifth is cluster sampling. It is a method of surveying several clusters without examining the entire population, consisting of clusters composed of internal heterogeneity and external homogeneity. For example, think of an administrative district that makes up a city. It refers to examining only a few selected administrative areas, not all administrative areas. Now let's finish the probability sampling and explain the non-probability sampling. The first of the non-probability sampling is convenience sampling. It means that the researcher composes the sample most conveniently. In many cases, the results of the researches are not fair because they are literally at the convenience of the researcher. The second is judgment sampling. It means to construct a sample based on criteria judged by the researcher to be appropriate. This method is also not fair. The third is quota sampling. Refers to extracting a sample by assigning the number of the sample according to the characteristics such as age, academic ability, career, occupation, etc., corresponding to the internal heterogeneous and external homogeneous criteria. The last is voluntary sampling. The sample consists of those voluntarily participating in the survey. Responding voluntarily to the survey means that the respondents' involvement level is high. In conclusion, I cannot say which is the best method. This is because research will depend on how to choose the right sample. Therefore, the researcher must remember that the sample represents the population. It is also necessary to construct a sample under this proposition. At this time, we learned how to sample. Next time, we will learn how to code for the SPSS statistics. Thank you for watching so far.